And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Welcome to Open Connection. I'm your host, Robert Pictou. The pulp and paper industry consists of manufacturing enterprises that convert predominantly woody plant material into a wide variety of pulps, papers, and paper boards. On today's Open Connection, we open our archives to bring you this story featuring Eurocan's 1988 maintenance shutdown.
Indeed, many of the rooms in the neighboring community of Terrace were also full. It wasn't because of some strange post-season influx of tourists. Rather, the explanation can be found at the Eurocan pulp and paper mill on the outskirts of Kitimat, where there is a veritable beehive of activity going on. The entire mill is virtually crawling with workers. Not only the hundreds of regular employees of the mill, but hundreds others from across the province. Some have even come from as far as Cape Breton to work here for 10 days. It's the occasion of the annual Eurocan maintenance shutdown, where most of the mill is pretty much tore into pieces, some of which are replaced or added to, and then the whole shebang is reassembled into working order. And if it all works out, the mill is in better shape after the exercise than before.
What it is to fix things, of course, to make them last longer and get more reliability out of them. There's certain machinery in this mill that can only be maintained when the mill is completely down, and we only have this time of the year to do it. Of course, we've got the expansion again, which is something different, but that's putting in the new capital projects which never existed before, and these are also going in at the same time.
So when this is all finished and done for, will you have more productivity, is that it?
We'll have more production, of course, and we'll also have increased quality, which is a major factor in our business.
You got to keep up with the Joneses to satisfy the customers' demands, I guess.
That's correct. It's a very competitive business, and to stay on top, we have to make these improvements.
The Eurocan mill shuts down for maintenance work twice a year, a minor one in the spring and a major in the fall. This shutdown is one of the largest ever. Some 650 out-of-town workers have been brought into Kitimat. The company chartered jet aircraft to fly many of them here. A shutdown of this magnitude is a major undertaking. Organizing the hundreds of workers so that all the jobs get done and are completed on time causes a few headaches. It takes a lot of coordination between the planning, engineering, maintenance, and construction departments.
Well, again, that's where the planning comes into it. It takes months and weeks of preparation time, meeting with our engineering people, meeting with our maintenance people, meeting with our management, and spending 3 months before anything actually takes place. This is how we accomplish it. Prior to the shutdown, a week or two before, all the departments get together and we coordinate where each job's going to be, what's involved, how long it's going to take, what shift it is, if it's a 24-hour job, etc. So before we go into it, we have a fairly clear picture of what exactly is going on.
The planning people start the ball rolling, determining what has to be done, what's needed to do it, and how it's to be scheduled so it's done on time. After those decisions are plotted out, the Eurocan purchasing department does its part to prepare for the shutdown. Here, the buyers get on the phone to the suppliers, trying to get the best price for what's needed and ensuring it can be delivered on time. Because much of the equipment in the plant is of European construction, some of the necessary parts have to be shipped from foreign suppliers.
And that would cover everything from pumps to motors, piping, down from the largest machinery, like for instance we have a package boiler we brought in this time. They would be responsible for bringing that from San Francisco up on barge, making sure it's here at the site on time, down to a small little electric motor that makes it. So it's quite a task.
Most of the work needed to be done by the purchasing people in preparation for the shutdown has already been looked after. And now that they've seen that everything needed for the shutdown is on site, the physical work of installing it gets underway. Some of the more intricate work takes place in the mill's control room, the nerve center of the complex. From here, thousands of wire fingers stretch into every corner of the mill, monitoring the pulse beats and relaying the messages back to the center, where a myriad of lights and buzzers alert the technicians to any problems that might be developing in the vast system of pipes and chambers. A small light or gauge that isn't working here could mean a much bigger problem elsewhere in the mill, wouldn't be detected in time, prevent costly repairs or downtime.
My job, well, we have to go through and check a bunch of temperature probes in the top of the digesters. The contractors went through and changed a bunch of them, and they found some problems. We have a list of wiring problems and stuff that we got to check out and repair.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Thank you for staying with us. Many new mills were built in British Columbia's interior during the 1950s and 1960s because of the provincial government's willingness to provide them with guaranteed supplies of inexpensive fiber. Let us return to the archives to witness the upgrade of some tasks at Eurocan.
During this shutdown, Eurocan is undertaking a number of costly capital improvements, including the installation of a large new computer.
This system is designed to take over the process of the batch digesters. This is the latest technology available in this area, so we're quite pleased with this and proud of it. And,
did you have a computer in here before this one?
Yes, we did. Yes, we did. But technology moves quite rapidly, and we like to stay ahead of it at all times.
So this should last you for a few years?
Hopefully quite a few years, yes. Yes, it's quite a sizable investment here.
It looks like almost an impossible task, hooking up the mass of wires to their proper terminals, but according to those that know, it's just a matter of following the step-by-step directions.
Oh, they give us a sheet which gives it a cable number and a field designation and a final cabinet designation here, and each conductor is numbered. As you can see, there's 38. So I know that in, say, for example, cable number 323999, P7, conductor number 38 goes to a certain spot on this terminal board.
So you just follow the directions?
Follow the numbers.
Just like building a model airplane?
Exactly. And hopefully the other guy's got it all right.
It's almost a complete change from the clean, small environs of the computer room to the massive structure that houses the mill's steam plant boilers. Eurocan's steam generation capabilities are immense. Statistically, the boilers produce 450,000 pounds of steam every hour. That sounds like a lot, and it is. There's only one other boiler in the province that's bigger. Work here includes some restoration of the burners, but most involves the replacement of about 1,000 2.5-inch pipes. These pipes disperse the steam throughout the plant. After constant use, they begin to wear thin. And when they reach a certain thickness, they have to be replaced. It'll make the steam facilities more reliable and safe. This job costs in the neighborhood of $1 million and involves scores of workers.
150.
Is it hard to find that many qualified people?
Yes, it is. Right now, there's several other major shutdowns taking place at pulp mills, other places in BC. And there's a shortage of Boilermakers. They can't fill the demand from the BC local, so they're importing Boilermakers from Alberta and other provinces.
Although the workers scattered throughout the mill are employed on many different types of jobs, every one of them has one thing in common. Each has to eat. And Eurocan makes sure they're well fed. Every out-of-town worker is picked up twice during their 12-hour shift by buses, which take them from the mill down to the company's camp facilities several kilometers away. 200 men sleep at the camp every night in the trailer accommodations, and over 300 eat here daily, as much food as they want at each sitting. The workers get 4 hot meals every day. Because work at the plant continues around the clock on 2 12-hour shifts, cooks here at the camp are constantly busy, preparing a meal every 4 hours. Each meal has 4 entrees. Today the choice is between roast chicken, Salisbury steak, baked wieners and beans, and a green onion omelet. There is, of course, a range of salads and desserts to go along with that. And although in any camp there will be a few grumblers about the food, most here aren't complaining.
How's the food?
Good. Can't tell.
Getting lots of it?
Oh, enough. Oh, yeah.
How many meals a day?
3. It's enough.
Good selection?
Oh, yeah. It's always good. It's always good.
Now, I hear some of the guys are grumbling about the food.
Oh, they're nuts. It's always good, usually. Well, yeah, usually.
No complaints?
No, not here anyways.
Keeping up with the kitchen work is a constant battle, not only in the mountains of food that have to be prepared, and in the stacks of dishes that come in on an almost constant basis, but also in moving the workers in and out within the half-hour meal period. Finding an empty seat can be difficult. That's where head waiter Lou Moreau comes in. It's his job to give the workers a gentle nudge when they're finished eating, so the seat is freed up for someone else.
Well, we get every 4 hours for 24 hours, around the clock.
How many people are you feeding?
350, 350. Yeah.
Every 4 hours?
Every 4 hours, yeah.
It's a lot of food.
A lot of food, a lot of preparation for a small kitchen.
In a half hour, the meal's over, and the workers are back on the bus headed for the mill, but they'll be back in 4 hours to do it all again. At the mill, work is underway on the 2 paper machines, huge mechanical beasts that take the raw pulp in at one end and spew out paper at the other. This is what the area normally looks like, great sheets of paper whizzing through the presses to be squeezed into form before being fed onto giant rolls as the finished product, ready for shipment all over the world. And this is what the area looks like during the maintenance shutdown, dissected into bits and pieces and crawling with workers. Although it looks a little chaotic, like a swarm of ants, each intent on its own work mission, with little regard for what the other's doing, there is a grand plan. Each contractor with its workers can be thought of as a team, working on a separate mini-project, which, when finished, will all come together to form the giant overall restoration project on the 2 paper machines.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Welcome back to Open Connection. Typically, paper has been made from pulping or crushing fibrous plant or woody material into cellulose components using either friction or chemicals. During this process, the waste or non-cellulose material is eliminated as in the water, which is removed using heat and pressure, resulting in paper. Let us return to the archives to learn more about this process.
They're modernizing the Ford and Air to make it a lot easier to put fabric wires on.
So what's that mean for a layman now?
Well, for a layman, it means increased productivity, easier to install these wires, and more speed in tons.
Better production?
Better production.
More efficient?
It will help in the long run, yeah.
So you say it makes it easier to install wires. Do you have to install a lot of wires?
A fabric wire is what the sheet is formed on, and the water drains through it. If you looked at it, you'd call it a screen. They're actually fabric. They used to be made out of bronze, but now they're made out of nylon. Looks like fishnet.
So when you're finished doing what you're doing here this week, it'll be easier to replace those screens.
Right. It's an ongoing modernization of the whole Ford and Air. Eventually there'll be a top wire. We'll have 2 wires instead of 1.
Which will mean more production.
More production.
So how does this maintenance program compare to the other ones you worked on in past years?
There's a lot more construction people here this time. We're doing a lot more projects in this area.
Just more work.
More work.
Some of that work includes the installation of 4 new dryer cans. These large drums remove moisture from the pulp as it's being made into paper. As well, the existing dryer cans are being worked on to make them more efficient. When the work on the paper machine is complete, it should up production from about 38 tons per hour to just over 50 tons. To handle that extra flow of paper, a whole new finishing line will be added to the mill. It's where the giant rolls are wrapped, labeled, and sorted before being shipped to world markets. Eurocan is Canada's largest kraft paper mill. Kraft is the brown paper used in shopping bags and to make cardboard boxes. The mill has an annual production capacity of 380,000 tons of paper. Last year, the sales were valued at some $215 million. Within a couple of years, those numbers are going to rise considerably. Much of the work that's underway in conjunction with the maintenance shutdown is in preparation for next fall, when Eurocan's new pulp mill comes online. The $126 million addition is now being built. The past few years have been good ones for the pulp and paper industry. In 1987, Eurocan set significant production records, and for the first time in a long time, the company turned a profit. Much of the money is being reinvested in the mill, which means when a downturn in the market occurs, and analysts are predicting a minor one in the next couple of years, Eurocan should be able to weather the depression much more successfully. There's an old saying, to make money you have to spend money, and that's what Eurocan's doing now.
Maintenance alone, excluding the capital work, again, just maintenance, the total project is around $4.5 million for this shutdown. Of course, our Sunhat project, it's a major expansion of $126 million, but we're only doing portions of it now, but the total cost will come out to approximately that.
Mm-hmm. So $4.5 million roughly. How's that
for maintenance? For
maintenance. Yes. How's that stack up to other years?
Well, this year it's fairly normal. Last year we were looking probably about $5 million, and depending on the amount of work, we're running anywhere from about $3 to $5 million each major shutdown in the fall.
Although much of the millions of dollars Eurocan spends on its maintenance shutdown is for workers and supplies that come from areas outside the Northwest, a good portion of the dollars stay here in the region. Kitimat businesses traditionally pick up significant amount of work, not only the motels that are booked, but also various contractors that provide services. And some businesses from other Northwest communities can also get in on the bidding and pick up extra work. While the plant's been down, not all regular work has been discontinued. Trains continue to bring in the chemicals needed for production, some finished goods move to market, and the opportunity is taken to build up the stockpile of wood chips. About 10 days after it starts, if all goes according to plan, the maintenance work is finished and the mill slowly starts to gear up for production. After the plant has gone through such a large refurbishing, it takes time to bring it back online. It's not just simply a matter of hitting a few buttons and the paper starts to flow.
The startup is progressive. We start by starting the power boiler after 7 days and then progressively starting up the pulp mill. And then when we have enough pulp, we start up one paper machine. And as we're rebuilding the number one paper machine, the recovery boiler is also being repaired. Once the recovery boiler is up after 10 days, then the whole mill will be online.
Eurocan's been going through these shutdowns since the mill was built in 1970. The company has learned from experience, but every year the shutdown presents a challenge. New people working on different special projects. But as always, the work gets done, the mill runs perhaps a little better, and next year they do it all again.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Normally, in the manufacture of paper, wood is pulped first, but a German inventor found that treating cellulose pulp with certain chemicals increased the strength of the paper. He called his paper Kraft paper. Kraft in German means strength. In this final segment of Open Connection, we return to the archives to bring you Eurocan's Kraft paper process.
Eurocan's very specific requirements and adapted to produce high-quality pulp for strong packaging fibers.
We required additional fiber to expand the production facilities at Eurocan, and we recognized some of the opportunities in the characteristics of the fiber, the power supply, and environmental sensitivity of this area. And a process that had been developing in a number of areas of the world was adapted to make strong packaging fiber for our product, and that makes it a unique plant in the world.
The operation differs substantially from the regular sack kraft mill.
Well, this is a high-yield plant, meaning we get almost twice the amount of pulp for any given wood supply. The product is different, the process is different than, say, the CTMP mills around the province or around the world, in that it uses much higher chemical additions, harsher treatment chemically before the refining steps, and it also incorporates a unique counter-current washing process that recovers the chemicals in the dissolved material back into the kraft mill as a fraction of our total chemical makeup requirements.
And despite the new capacity, there's been no increase in air or water emissions.
One of the objectives, or say the rules of this expansion, is that we were going to have no increase on either air or water emissions in Kitimat. And so we adapted technology that had been developing for other processes and incorporated into a process that we could capture and concentrate the effluents from this plant, and that is collecting approximately 92% of all of the material that originates with the wood and takes it back to the kraft pulp mill.
Staying competitive nowadays means delivering exactly what the customer wants. The increased linerboard production goes through a new winder that can produce 2,100 rolls of paper in 20 hours and which can be programmed to produce specific weights, strengths and finishes. The packaging paper is then custom cut and identified before being readied for shipment to 480 customers in 38 countries, most of them outside North America. A computer network provides the detailed information on each customer's requirements.
There's a lot of information that is associated with each custom-made roll, and that starts with order collection in centers for Europe in Helsinki and for the Far East in Osaka. It's transmitted through our sales office electronically to here, and we have a computerized programming system that collects similar products and makes them into instructions for manufacture. Again, all transmitted electronically, and the products made then have to be cut to the final customer size. They have to be verified that they do meet and exactly fill the order of each paper grade size.
It's taken a lot of time and effort to get the modifications to work smoothly.
It's put a heavy challenge on all of the Eurocan employees to learn so much of the high technology in a short space of time, and in many cases these are firsts. Firsts certainly for the individuals, but it could be first in BC or Canada, around the world.
To accommodate the increased production, there's been expansion of the company's warehouse facilities at its shipping terminal. A second berth has also been added so chips can be loaded for export to Japan. Exporting chips is looked on by many critics as the same as exporting jobs. A new chip loader has been built, and Eurocan stockpiled wood chips for some time in preparation for its first trial shipment.
This particular one is through Mitsui Trading Company, and the ultimate consumer is Honshu Paper, and as you can see, the name of the vessel is the Honshu Sylvia. This vessel is the first. There'll be another one in June and a third one in late July, and each one of them to a different company, and subject to the end user being satisfied with the quality of the chips and the speed of loading and so on, we expect that they will then contract for further vessels.
The company has a huge stockpile of chips stored at its mill, which it can't process.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Open Connection. The greatest distance in the existence of man is not from here to there, but the connection from his mind to his heart. If we can conquer that distance, we can soar like an eagle and realize our immensity within. I'm Robert Pictou.